Hello everyone, it's Becky here from Ivy's Corner, back again to do another little mini monotangle for you. Today I'm going to be drawing Arukas, which is a fun tangle with lots of auras, and it kind of grows out from a central kind of section. It's a really fun one to play with, to go do like a crazy version as well. I'm going to show you the standard version today, but go ahead and have a little play with it and see what happens. So I'm going to start off by placing a border, I think, or a string. I'm gonna kind of do a rough kind of wiggly sort of string rather than a border. So it's kind of just creating a border, but not the standard kind of straight line one. So there's my kind of string. I'm going to pick up my pen now, and I'm going to start off by placing a nice orb. I'm not going to put it bang in the centre, I'm going to come slightly out. Kind of looks like a fried egg now. So there is my central orb I'm going to be basing my Arukas around. And from there, what I'm going to do is draw some auras that kind of come out. So some spokes, a little bit like the Tangle spoken in some ways, but we're going to do just some lines coming straight out of that central orb, keeping them quite fine. I'm going to turn my tile and just place these all around. Auraing those lines. So we have them kind of shining out of this central orb, a little bit like a sun. Let's just do one more here. So we've got our little sort of sun radiating out here. So once we've done all of our lines that are radiating from that central circle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this circle and aura it. So I'm going to place an aura around it. Now, as I've kind of practiced with these with this tangle, I find that it's kind of nice to play around with the size of your auras, especially those around the circle, because I found that keeping them too fine means that the section that you create in between these different auras tends to get very small and disappear quite quickly. So what I quite like to do is keep these a little bit wider than these auras that kind of extend out of the side here. So you're using the holly ball technique, you're going to place this aura around your central orb, and just following it all the way around to create this nice aura around that centre. Once we've done that, we're then going to go back to our radiating auras and aura those again. So just starting at the aura we just placed here, and then auraing and following out where these lines went here. And I'm keeping them roughly the same size as the first ones that we placed down. I'm not really following my rule of auraing on the side. So like when I auraed this one here, I'm crossing over the line I'm auraing. Generally I like to try and do it this way so I can see the line, but because there's so many auras here, it's sometimes easier just to keep your tile where it is. So I'm now going to do my next aura around this central orb once I've completed all of the ones around these points here. And I'm going to keep it fairly chunky, this one here. As I said, I have found that if you try and keep these sort of circular auras the same width as your radiating auras, then this section tends to disappear a little bit, and this is quite a fun section to play with and shade and things. So keeping these auras fairly chunky is a helpful tip for this tangle. And now I'm going to go back and aura my radiating lines again. So actually what I might do this time is do all of the ones on the right hand side first. And then I will turn my tile and do all of the ones on the new right hand side here. So just following this along, and you can kind of get the sense of this now. We're basically going to repeat those steps one at a time until you end up filling all of the space. Now, if you ever find yourself getting a little bit lost and not being certain if you've done all of your auras or not, just take a moment to have a look to see, because what you want to have is, you've completed all your radiating auras, you want to have your radiating auras touching the most recent circular aura. So you can see here these come in and they intersect like this. Whereas if there's any that you'd missed, I'm going to just draw this next aura in here, but you can see if there's any that you had missed around the aura, the radiating auras, then this aura, the circular aura, would be touching the outside of the radiating ones rather than the other way around, if that makes sense. So just have a little check to see where your lines are at, and that will tell you where you've reached. So now I've done all of my auras around there, and I'm going to continue again with drawing my radiating auras. I'll do everything on the right hand side. Starting to lose space a little bit on some of the points. I've done all the ones on the right hand side now, and then I will do the left. So just following around. And this is another tangle that is very repetitive and quite relaxing because of that. Don't have to think too hard about things. So here I've obviously reached the edge here where my auras, my next aura will be placed. So I'm going to just sort of hollybore it beneath my string line. And as I mentioned a couple of times, because I've got my nice chunky auras around that central area, I find that that gives me these kind of wider sections here. If you do narrow auras here and you have the same, maybe the same width as the radial ones, they tend to kind of, these lines will catch up with these and they'll kind of fill this space quicker, with this being not quite so chunky. So having your circular auras a little bit more larger will just give you a little bit more to play with. Whoops. So obviously I can't see this aura here, so this one no longer requires any auraing. Same with this one. And I'll come back round and do it the other way. Okay, and now it's time for my next aura around the outside. So obviously these two are now full, and so I'm only doing these sections at this point. So gonna aura, and as your spaces get smaller you might like to just keep them in the same orientation. And then another aura around here and here, and then back to doing my radial ones. And you can see what I mean about things getting smaller and eventually we're losing space here, because this is kind of fades to a smaller area. I think that's basically, as you can see here, I've actually missed my straight line, or it should have been, but he doesn't notice, you know. A mistake, but it's not a mistake. So I might just do one final little one here, and this one I've done also. There we go. It gets a bit complicated at the end, but it's all good. So there you go. You can see how these kind of circular auras end up looking like little sort of features that are sticking out of the centre. And you can also see how if you've had very, very fine auras, they would end up being a lot smaller and almost disappearing entirely by the time they reach the edges. So I'm going to grab my pencil now, and I'm going to start to shade. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is just pop a nice chunk of shade around my central orb, like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and just add some circular bits of graphite around these areas here. And if you wanted to kind of go in and be more specific about the overlaps and things, then you absolutely could, but personally I just think once it's all blended with the tortillon, it kind of looks the same. So I'm just going to continue placing that graphite down in these intersecting areas. And what's quite fun about the way that you add the graphite in this way is that when I come to blend it, these are going to kind of end up looking slightly rounded, which is quite fun. Kind of looks like they're kind of darker at the edges and then kind of curving almost. And actually, if you were drawing this on a different coloured tile, you could pop a little highlight down there, that which would look really effective as well. So just going through and softening all of the lines I've placed, just taking away the harshness of those pencil lines, which is kind of the main thing, I guess, that you want to do with your shading, is just get rid of any of those harsh lines. And these smaller ones here, because you've got the kind of, they're a smaller area, they tend to kind of fill with graphite quite quickly, so just be aware of that. I'm just going to soften this area around my central orb. I'm going to put a little curve in that central orb as well, like so. And I think finally I'm going to just do a kind of an element of cushion shading and put plenty of graphite just around the edges to sort of more define this border or the string that I placed down. Like so. Now I'm going to show you one thing that's maybe a little more controversial, because I'm actually going to bring out my precision eraser. Now this is not, an eraser is not a key element of the Zentangle method. We don't generally recommend that you use one, but because I've got this small area here and I just want to bring this highlight back, I like to think of this precision eraser as almost like an anti-tortillon, because I want to just bring a little bit more of that highlight back. So I'm just going to run it down the centre, almost as if I was using a white chalk. Which you can't really do easily on a white tile. And you can see it's just lifted that slightly. Now I'm going to go back in and soften my edges. And then I am done with this lovely tangle. It's a really fun one. It's sort of a bit of texture, but it's like a standalone tangle as well. You can combine it with other tangles. You can try the crazy variation, which is a fun one to have a go at. So lots of opportunities with Arukas. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was useful. Please do like and subscribe my channel. You can hit up my Instagram as well. Use the hashtag Ivy's Corner to show me what you've been creating. And also pop over to my website, where there's plenty of free resources as well. Thank you so much for following along, and I will see you next time.